Hey guys, so for y'all that don't know me, right, my name is Minerva, to some Minnie, to some Tita, whatever comes out of your mouth to say is more comfortable for you, however you want to say it, doesn't bother me, because ultimately it's not even the purpose of this video anyways. But anyways, so I find myself here now for a little bit over a month, hospitalized. I have quite the medical conditions, even if to some it may not seem like that, but those that know me know what it is. So don't judge a book by its cover. Second of all, as I'm sitting here to pass my time, I tend to do a lot of writing. I love poetry. I love writing books. Actually, in the process of writing two of them now. Hopefully, one day I get to share that with you guys sometime soon. And hopefully, my story gets around to where I bring inspiration to some, strength to others. If I could save a life or two in the process of it, then hey, my duty, my purpose here on this world was served. But as I'm writing, I find myself compelled to have to record this video. So I'm a mom of 5 boys, beautiful boys. And originally from Chicago. I moved out here back when my second oldest was a couple months old, and he's 20 years old now, so that says that. My first oldest is 22. And the point is that when I moved out here with a purpose, and my mind completely being, hey, and by out here I mean Chicago. From Chicago to Florida. I wanted my kids to have a different lifestyle than I did, have a different growing up, a different, a different environment, you know, and try my best at it. I was a young mom, made mistakes along the way. I continue to make mistakes along the way. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, never will I ever claim to be, but I try my best. And one thing that doesn't lack in my heart for my kids is love, and the fact that I give everything and anything for each and every one of them. With that being said, as I've now lived in Florida for this long, I'm starting to realize more and more these stories that are coming out, and these horrific traumas of kids, of teenagers, murders, rapes, molestation, the worst of the worst. And even though that happens all around the world, it's crazy to think that it can happen. It could be happening in your own backyard and you don't even know it, right? There's these two cases that have been weighing really, really heavy on me. One specifically, I'm not no cop, not no investigator, so let's just leave it at the fact that it's a 13-year-old little girl who was said to have been missing a couple months ago, never made it to school, yet ultimately now we're at a point where her stepfather, mom's boyfriend, is being charged with her murder. And it hurts me every time I hear a story like that, because I can't help but to think, like, what can we do to make it different? What can we say to make it right? And there's no such thing as ever making something right by words. Maybe, possibly making a difference by learning to stop judging people by the cover, by a book by its cover. Maybe learning how to simply share a smile no matter what you're feeling, simply because you don't know what the person next to you or what your neighbor may be going through in their life outside of that moment that they interacted with you. But I speak on this because I myself am actually a child survivor of sexual abuse. I was abused from the ages of 6 to 12 by family members of mine. one specific one, was the very man that I knew as my father. He raised me since I was just a couple months old, yet still had the nerve to do what he did to me for 6 entire years, from the age of 6 years old to the age of 12 years old, and yet still to this world wanders the streets like no consequences whatsoever. I was one of those type of girls. I was that girl who didn't grow up in with a cookie cutter lifestyle. I was that little girl who didn't really have the greatest example of what family was. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my mom, my siblings. We lived together, we were being raised together, but we were equally as much strangers as I was with the next door neighbor. But nonetheless, when I finally came out, I wasn't believed. Actually, I take that back. I was believed, but it didn't seem to really be important. At least important enough to call the cops and put in jail. It wasn't important enough to leave this person, therefore leaving me to have to still live under a roof and in a household of the very monster that traumatized me every single day of my life from the age of 6 years old to 12 years old. And I can't help but to say we have got to do better. It starts with speaking, it starts with listening, hearing you out. Spend time with your kids. Even if all you got is 10 minutes in a day, take five of those to yourself and the other 5 for them. And hey, if they need 3 extra ones, then you give them those 3 extra ones. If they need all 10, then you give them all 10. You sacrifice your only 5 minutes left for you. But our kids need to be heard. Our kids need to be listened to. Our kids need to be watched. Our kids need to be loved. And our kids need to be reminded that they are so important. They are our future. We've got to treat them as such. During this specific case that I tell you that weighs heavy on me is I hear go around so much around the internet as to whether or not there's no way that this mom didn't know that this little girl was being abused for years before she came to an untimely death. And truth is, whether she knew or she didn't, it doesn't make it any better. It doesn't mean that the case isn't any less important. It doesn't mean that her life isn't any less valid or more valid than the next. It means that we as adults have got to do better. If we want to see change, then we have to change. It starts with us. The first thing that starts with is learning to open your mouth, speak, teaching your kids that just because we're your parents doesn't mean we know everything and we do it all right. Doesn't mean that we don't understand you, because we've been that age too. But instead we need to learn as parents and as adults to give off more love. Stop being so cold to the world. The world doesn't owe you anything. You owe it to yourself. What you become is your choice. What you want to do is your decision. And what legacy you want to leave behind, it's all up to you, and it's in your actions. I had a lot of people that I know don't know my story. Not so much because, I'm trying to hide it or it's an embarrassing part of my life. Absolutely not. But more so because people... Oops, sorry. More so because people think that with it comes this embarrassment, this unspoken necessity of why even needing to share it. And then the instant, oh, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I feel so bad for you. Look, pause and stop telling you, I need no pity. We need no pity. We need change. We need to change. We need to keep our kids safe. That's the duty we were given. There's no man worth in this world the value of your child. There's no woman worth in this world the humility that one feels when it's found out that their family too has secrets. We all have secrets. And if you're the first perfect one, please be the first one to throw your stone. Stow it at, please. Throw that rock at your very glass house and let's see if the windows break. Let's see if those walls break. I promise you they will. If we learn to be here for each other, stop being so judgmental. If we learn to smile our next door neighbor, if we learn to wake up and simply just say, thank you, God, for another beautiful day of life. Thank you for the chance of letting me see a sunrise. Then you can see that the surroundings that you put yourself tend to change. The people that you attract are different. And every single person that comes in your life, good, bad, or ugly, short time or a long time, or still consistent, they came into your life, they've come into your life, and they're in your life for a purpose and for a reason. And from each and every person, we learn something from. There's a lot of me that not many people know. I can count on one hand, aside from my kids themselves and my husband. But I hope this is a start to something. The start to you guys getting to know who I am, my stories, what my purpose is, my biggest dream is. My biggest dream is that my story save a life. That a little girl out there who may be going through what I went through similar can have the courage in knowing they're not alone. They've never been alone. Speak. You will be heard. You want them to hear you. I will hear you. I will listen. You're important. You matter. And even if it feels like the world's crumbling down on you in this very second, in this very moment, know that there's a purpose. And there's one thing for sure you're gonna get is strength. Everyone I surround myself with always says I'm their biggest inspiration. They're admired by my story and how strong I am. And I don't do it. And I don't tell people my story because I want people to say, wow, you're so strong. I tell my story because I want people to know they're not alone. We've got to love on our kids. We got to love on our world. It's our world and the life we live is because that's what we choose to live. And if you choose to not make change, then change you'll never see. If you choose to be unhappy, then unhappy you will be. So here's my part one. to many left. And if anybody has questions, speak, talk. Don't judge. No one needs judgment. We could judge ourselves all on our own and do a damn good job at it. Let's spread awareness. Let's spread love. Let's spread change. Let's be different. So, that's it for now. But you'll see me again. Let's get it. Let's go. Let God take control. Amen.